Welcome to today's deep dive. We are unpacking a genuinely chilling story today, one that masterfully blends supernatural suspense with some really profound spiritual lessons. We're looking at Labubu's Shadow. It's an Islamic horror narrative that explores the unseen dangers lurking in everyday objects and, ultimately, the power of faith to overcome them. So, what happens when a seemingly innocent toy hides a terrifying secret? It's a question that really sets the stage for our entire analysis today. We're going to follow two young siblings, Abdullah and Fatima. They're just wandering into an unfamiliar part of their village, but their curiosity leads them down a path that turns a simple afternoon of play into a literal, desperate fight against unseen, demonic forces. Okay, let's dive into this. The story kicks off in a setting straight out of a classic suspense tale, the mysterious toy shop. The siblings stumble upon this completely deserted storefront. We're talking windows caked in dust and thick cobwebs blocking the doorway. But the most unsettling detail right off the bat, the door to this abandoned shop slowly creaks open, completely on its own, basically inviting them into the dark. Once inside, Fatima's eyes are immediately drawn to a toy called Labubu. It's this small figure with a really wide, truthy, kind of unsettling smile. Now, Abdullah instantly feels a deep hesitation. His gut is screaming that something is horribly wrong here. But the mysterious shopkeeper doesn't even ask for money. He literally just gives the toy to Fatima for free and leaves her with this chilling promise. It will walk with you always. I mean, talk about the perfect eerie setup for what comes next. That brings us to part two, the first night's terror. This is where the danger really starts to creep in. As the sun sets and the house goes totally quiet, Fatima innocently puts Labubu on her bed. But the second darkness envelops the room, the haunting begins with some incredibly specific sensory details. Abdullah starts hearing these heavy footsteps echoing just outside their door. Then, the door begins to shake violently in its frame, and a window slowly creaks shut all on its own. But the most alarming clue? There's a fan sitting right next to the Labubu toy, and it suddenly powers down. Crucially, the electricity in the house is still on. And then comes the ultimate terror. Right there in the dim light, the toy actually begins to move. Which leads us straight into Section 3, sleepwalking and glowing eyes. The danger is absolutely escalating now. Now, what's really interesting here is how the narrative contrasts the human and the supernatural on the second night. The danger goes from just spooky environmental sounds to actual physical manipulation. We've got Fatima in a total, helpless trance. Her eyes are completely shut tight as she sleepwalks out of her room, heading aimlessly toward the courtyard. But then, consider the toy she's clutching. Labu's eyes are actually glowing in the dark. And when Abdullah bravely reaches out to grab the toy to stop his sister, the toy's hands start moving beneath his fingers. That's the terrifying realization that they are dealing with no ordinary object. Moving into Section 4, the shadows attack. This is the third night and things are about to hit a boiling point. Abdullah is jolted awake in the dead of night by this slow, muffled, genuinely demonic laughter, and he looks over to find Fatima's bed empty. Thinking about the timeline of the haunting, this really brilliantly illustrates the systematic escalation. The entity doesn't just attack right out of the gate. No, it tests the waters on night 1 with moving objects and sounds. By night 2, it establishes physical control over Fatima. And by night 3, it manifests visibly. Abdullah looks up and sees a massive, terrifying shadow of the Labubu toy projected right against the bedroom wall, and it is growing larger and more imposing by the second. And then, the silence just breaks. The shadow looming over Abdullah actually speaks, delivering this absolutely spine-tingling quote. "Why did you touch me? I am Fatima's friend and will always be." It's a total assertion of dominance from the entity. It's claiming ownership over his sister and pushing the suspense to its absolute peak. Abdullah is now face-to-face with an active, malicious force. Section 5. The power of prayer. It is time to fight back. In this exact moment, the tone of the story shifts gears entirely. Abdullah realizes that physical strength just isn't going to save his sister here. He has to fight back using his faith. So the crucial point is that spiritual protection in this narrative requires conscious action. He systematically relies on his religious education. First, he recalls the wisdom of the Maulvi from the madrasa. Second, he actively recites the prayer A'udhu billah minash shaitanir rajim, specifically seeking refuge from the outcast Shaitan. And third, he calls directly upon Allah for help and intervention. And the response to his prayer is immediate and just overwhelmingly powerful. The story describes a highly cinematic climax. This blinding, incredibly forceful light suddenly erupts, filling every single corner of that dark room. The shadow entity lets out a piercing scream, instantly disintegrates into a cloud of thick smoke, and vanishes entirely. The dark spell is broken, and though Fatima falls unconscious, she is finally truly safe. Which brings us to Section 6, the moral of the story. The terrifying night is over, and it's time to seek some guidance. Let's just take a collective breath here. The siblings, who are obviously shaken, but thankfully safe, head over to the madrasa the very next morning. And this brings us to the core purpose of this entire narrative. In the text, this is referred to as the akhlaqi sabak, which translates to the ethical or moral lesson designed to guide righteous behavior. The Molvi sits down with the terrified children and explains a really profound truth. He tells them that evil doesn't always look like a scary monster. Sometimes the Shaitan hides within innocent, attractive things. Like a shiny new toy in a mysterious shop, just waiting for an invitation into your home. To really capture the educational value of the story, let's distill the essential takeaways here. Number 1, appearances can totally be deceiving. Not everything that catches your eye is actually good for you. Number 2, the story heavily emphasizes the practical application of prayer, reminding us to recite Bismillah and Auzubillah to ward off fear and evil. Third, unwavering faith provides the ultimate shield against these unseen forces. And finally, the importance of listening to the intuition and wisdom of your elders. It's a lesson Fatima takes to heart, vowing to stop being stubborn and to always seek spiritual protection before accepting anything new. This whole story of Labubu's shadow is honestly a masterclass in using suspense to deliver a timeless lesson about vigilance and faith. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. The next time you bring something new into your home, whether it's a simple little object or a new influence altogether, will you remember to look past the surface and seek protection first? It's a really powerful reminder that sometimes the most effective armor we have against the unseen is simply the faith we carry within us. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.